The air aboard the Varkalax Maw reeked of oil, ozone, and rot. Alien guards in biomech armor dragged the old man through the docking bay, his boots scraping against metal, echoing like war drums in a mausoleum. His wrists, raw and bruised, were bound by kinetic shackles humming low, like growls from a patient predator. Ivan Volkov, 63, didn't flinch. He scanned the vast holding bay, industrial, hollow, cruel in its design. The guards were Uskarn, insected bipeds with jagged exoskeletons and no understanding of restraint. One grunted, kicking Ivan behind the knee to force him down. He dropped silently to his knees. "Still won't speak?" the lead warden hissed. His mandibles clicked as he crouched to eye level. "You disappoint. I expected more from the apex myth." Ivan tilted his head. Not in pain. Not in defiance. Like a man studying a rusted blade before war. "I spoke enough when it mattered," he murmured, voice quiet but razor sharp. The warden laughed, a harsh, stuttering click. "Your kind always hid behind noise. Now stripped, caged, you play the phantom? You are bones in a failing species." Ivan stared through him. "Bones endure," the guards hissed. One raised a baton but hesitated. Something about the old man's eyes gave him pause. They weren't clouded with age. They were steel under frost. Cold, but not dead. "Take him to the descent elevator," barked another. "The warden wants to see his relic." The descent into Varkalax Maw was long, its shaft encased in transparent alloy. Outside, winds howled across the glacier-split surface of Harrow 12, an ice-locked planet where only misery survived. The penal colony burrowed into the planet's mantle. Each level more hostile, more forgotten. The deeper you went, the fewer names remained, only numbers and screams. As they descended, Ivan remained still. The guards shifted uneasily. He remembered this quiet. The silence of snows on old battlefields. The way the dead whispered when the last bullet was fired. That hush before the wolves came. "Look at him," one whispered. "He doesn't blink. Humans are soft. He's playing dead. Or waiting." They reached the core level, Command Tier Alpha. Commander Iskral Darnax stood at the center of a curved observation deck, arms clasped behind his back. His carapace was obsidian black, trimmed in ceremonial silver. He turned slowly, as if already savoring the performance. "So," Iskral said, voice calm and precise. "This is Baba Yaga." Ivan said nothing. The guards shoved him forward. Ivan stepped instead, slow, deliberate. Each footfall felt rehearsed, like part of a ritual. Iskral approached. "You know, the stories were absurd. A ghost in the woods. A demon with a man's face. But fear makes myths. And myths, they spread." He circled Ivan like a collector appraising a relic. "But here you are. Wrinkled. Scarred. Human." Iskral leaned close. "Disappointing." Ivan's lip twitched, almost a smile. "Then why are your guards trembling?" Iskral stiffened. The guards behind Ivan did step back, barely noticeable, but enough. "You'll die here," Iskral said. "And I'll broadcast your final breath to the last of your scattered kind. The galaxy will watch your end and forget your name." Ivan met his gaze. "Names aren't forgotten. Just buried. Like seeds." Iskral's expression darkened. "Arrogance. Typical." "No," Ivan said. "Memory." Ivan was taken to cell block Theta Black, reserved for the incurables, those too dangerous or too mad to be useful. The cell was a stone cube carved into permafrost. No bed. No warmth. Only breath that crystallized on exhale. He sat on the floor and waited. Time passed, measured not in hours but in the shifts of guard rotations, the rumble of distant machinery, the cries of pain that never fully stopped. Then came the whisper. A voice. Raspy. Curious. "You're the ghost man, aren't you?" Ivan looked up. Across the corridor, behind another force field, crouched a young alien, thin, pale, malnourished. A Dvak. Amphibious species. Not fighters. They said you tore through a scout ship with your hands, the Dvak whispered. Is it true? Ivan didn't answer. Instead, he asked, Do you believe in fear? The Dvak blinked. Everyone does. Ivan leaned back against the frozen wall. Then you understand. It's not the truth that matters. It's what they think I can do. A moment of silence. Can you do it? Ivan didn't smile. Didn't nod. He just met the Dvak's wide eyes and said, They laughed when they put me in chains. Let's see who's laughing when I leave. Far above, Iskro reviewed the footage. No screams. No begging. Just that same calm, surgical presence. He snarled. He should be broken by now. An assistant chittered nervously. Sir, permission to install neural tormentors? Iskro didn't respond at first. He stared at the screen, zoomed in on the old man's face. No, he said finally. Let the myth walk a little longer. The higher he climbs in their minds, the harder he'll fall. The lights dimmed as Iskro turned away. But in the darkened cell below, Ivan had already started carving into the wall with a shard of his own shackles, symbols, runes, memories. He was preparing. Not for escape. For war. The days in Varkalak's maw bled into each other, lightless, cold, and silent, save for the clank of boots and the screams that rarely ended with breath. Yet within cell block Theta Black, silence began to shift. Ivan Volkov, the man they called Baba Yaga, did not pace or speak. He carved. Each line in the frost-covered stone was deliberate, no symbols anyone recognized, but they carried weight. Guards watched but didn't interfere. Not yet. By the third cycle, prisoners from nearby cells began to murmur. Why is he etching death spirals? He's praying. Praying? One scoffed. To who? To what? Came the quiet reply. A mutant from cell 6 with one eye and flaking skin leaned closer to his bars. He hasn't eaten. Hasn't slept. He just waits. Maybe he's broken. No, the Dvak whispered from the shadows. He's sharpening something inside. On the 6th cycle, the lights flickered. Theta Black never lost power, not even during solar storms. That flicker, brief and strange, was enough to unnerve the guards. A pair of Uskarn patrol drones whirred to life, scanning the cells. Ivan didn't flinch. They stopped at his door, scanners sweeping his vitals. One guard frowned. He's slowing. Heart rate under 30. Is he dying? No, his partner muttered. He's regulating. They logged the anomaly, but didn't understand it. Inside the cell, Ivan continued carving. His hands, calloused and bleeding, moved with grace. The marks were not human letters, nor alien code. They were older than that, memories translated into patterns. Footsteps in snow. Names of comrades. Cries in the forest. All preserved in etched silence. From across the corridor, the Dvak pressed closer. Are you really him? He asked. Ivan didn't look up. Who do they say I am? Baba Yaga. The human ghost. The one who burned the Gordhak battalion alive, with a whisper. Ivan finally turned. They did burn, he said. But not from me. Then who? Ivan's voice dropped to a hush. Their own fear. The Dvak swallowed hard. My name is Enril. Ivan nodded once, then returned to his wall. You remember your name. Good. Why? Because soon you'll need to decide who you are again. On the 8th cycle, the air vents hiss wrong, offbeat, irregular. The prisoners noticed. From his station above, Commander Iskro observed quietly. They're watching him now, he said. Even the worst of them leaned closer. He hasn't done anything, an assistant replied. That's the point, Iskro said. They wait for a crack, a flash, an opening. They want to believe he's the monster we told them about. He tapped a claw against the glass. Let's make them believe harder. An hour later, the guards entered Ivan's cell. No warning. No explanation. Just shock prods and batons. 3 of them, armored, towering. Ivan stood but didn't resist. The first jab struck his ribs. He exhaled. The second smashed his knee. He dropped. The third hit his jaw. He bled. Still, he didn't fight back. Not yet. The guards laughed. Where's the apex now? He bleeds like prey. One leaned down. Say something, ghost. Ivan spat blood. His voice was a whisper of winter. Your laughter is always before the fire. The guard hesitated. What? Ivan stared into him. No malice. Just certainty. After the fire, there is no laughter. They left him broken on the floor. But the prisoners had watched. Enra whispered. He could have killed them. Yes, murmured the mutant. He's waiting. For what? For the right moment. That night the whispers spread. Across 3 tiers of Theta Black, inmates repeated what they'd seen. Ivan had taken the beating like stone. No cries. No pleas. And that phrase, before the fire. It wasn't bravado. It was prophecy. A grizzled scarred berserker from Cell 9 chuckled darkly. If that's what he takes without striking back, imagine what happens when he moves. The guards noticed the change. Eyes followed them longer. Talk stopped when they entered. Even those too broken to care had found something to hold on to again. By the 10th cycle, Iskro was restless. He's seething unrest, he growled. With silence. We can isolate him. No, Iskro snapped. He thrives alone. I want him watched. Every moment. Record his movements. If he breathes differently, I want to know. But, do you know why humans scare us? Iskro asked. The assistant shook his head. Because they don't have claws. Or venom. Or armor. They have patience. And when they come, they don't roar. They whisper. And then they burn everything. He glared at the screen. And this one? He's not a soldier. He's what they send after soldiers fail. That night, Ivan sat cross-legged in his cell. He traced the last mark on the wall. A spiral with 3 intersecting lines. Behind him, Enril asked, What is that one? Ivan looked at it for a long time. Home. You're going back? Ivan's eyes never left the symbol. No. I'm bringing it here. The wind outside howled through the ice tunnels like wolves returning to ancient woods. And deep within them all, the cage began to hum. The alarm klaxons didn't ring. There were no announcements, no ceremony. Just the hiss of Ivan's cell seal breaking, and a half-dozen guards waiting with restraints, and no words. He stood before they ordered him to. Chains were snapped on with more force than necessary. A show of control. One tried to shove him. He didn't move. He just looked at the hand. The guard reconsidered. No one spoke on the way to the arena. The silence was weighty, ritualistic. Like the walk of the condemned. The Bloodsport arena was carved into the core of Varkalak's maw. No walls, only glowing barriers. A pit surrounded by prisoners stacked 5 tiers high in mesh cages, all forced to watch. Above them, an armored viewing capsule, black glass, throne-centered, held Commander Iskral. His voice echoed through the chamber, distorted by amplifiers. Today, he said, we offer the galaxy a lesson in humility. The myths of Earth are just that, myths. Superstition crumbles under light. The crowd stirred. A mix of species, all eyes drawn to the lone human stepping into the frost-rimmed pit. Ivan didn't acknowledge the noise. He walked to the center calm, still shackled. Then the floor opened. The first beast emerged, a Korg splicer hound, bred for carnage, fused with machine. 8 legs. Twin plasma saws where its mouth should be. It hissed steam and charged. The crowd roared. Ivan didn't move until it was 6 feet away. Then he stepped. Just once. The motion shifted his center. The beast misjudged. It lunged too far left. Ivan twisted sideways, turned his shackled wrists, and slammed them into its exposed neck port. Sparks. A shriek of hydraulics. It reared back. And Ivan looped the chain around its mandible, yanked once, and tore the head clean off. Gasps. Silence. Blood and coolant pooled at his feet. Up in the viewing capsule, Iskrul's mandibles twitched. Send the next one. 2 came this time. Bipedal war threshers. 6 arms each. Serrated bones. Eyes replaced with scanners. They approached slowly, learning. Ivan crouched. The first fainted left. He stepped into it, chain whipping high. It sliced through the soft clavicle where armor hadn't been refitted. The creature screamed. The second lunged. Ivan rolled, pulled a piece of the dead one's broken forearm, and drove it into the throat. The crunch echoed. Both bodies dropped within seconds. The crowd didn't cheer. They watched tense. Some leaned forward. Others whispered. In cell block Theta Black, prisoners huddled around the flickering broadcast feed. He's not fighting, one said. No, Enra whispered. He's sending a message. Iskrul slammed a claw into his armrest. Unleash the champion. A heavy door opened across the pit. From it stepped a Goran hybrid, 12 feet tall, surgically enhanced, cloaked in steel plating and branded with kills across its chest. It carried a plasma hammer that took 2 guards to lift. It roared. Ivan stood still. The hybrid charged. Each step cracked the floor. Ivan waited until the last instant, sidestepped, and the hammer missed by inches. The hybrid turned and swung again. This time, Ivan grabbed the head of the hammer mid-arc, redirected it upward, and used the chain still wrapped around his arm to swing onto the hybrid's back. Then came the noise. Metal tearing. Not from the hybrid, from the exosuit. Ivan had ripped out its spinal support rig. The beast collapsed, twitching. Ivan dismounted without a word. The arena was dead silent. Even Iskrul said nothing. Then the old man looked up. At the black glass capsule. Eyes locked. Ivan raised a single finger. And pointed. At Iskrul. Elsewhere in the prison, riots erupted. Not coordinated. Not planned. Inspired. Fights broke out. Doors were tested. Guards were overwhelmed. Theta Black became a storm. And in that storm, the legend grew. Later that cycle, back in his cell, Ivan wiped blood from his face using a rag made from the hybrid's own flag. Enra whispered through the wall, breathless. Why didn't you run? You could have escaped into the chaos. Ivan looked down at the piece of chain still wrapped around his knuckles. I'm not done. Done with what? Teaching them. In the command deck, Iskrul reviewed footage on loop. His claws tapped nervously against the screen. He didn't hesitate. Not once. No wasted motion, the assistant added. Like he'd already fought this before. Iskrul's eyes narrowed. We thought we broke their world. Turns out, we just set something loose. He stared at the screen, paused on the moment Ivan looked up and pointed. I want guards doubled. But sir. Triple them. Reinforce the doors. And seal the cell. He watched as Ivan sat in the bloodied center of the pit. Still as stone. Like he was waiting. And far below the maw, in silence, the first rebel signal lit up. A small flicker of code sent through frostbitten pipes. He walks. And with it, the galaxy stirred. The riot didn't start with fire. It started with stillness. Guards noticed first, laughter stopped. Threats gone. The prisoners watched doors, not walls. They weren't afraid. They were waiting. In cell block Theta Black, Ivan Volkov stood barefoot, holding the last remnant of his chain like a rosary. The symbols on his wall glowed faintly from the cold. Frost clung to the grooves where old memories were carved. Across from him, Enra whispered, It's happening, isn't it? Ivan didn't answer. He closed his eyes and listened. Somewhere above, a siren howled. But not the usual type, this one was internal. Localized. Breach level. A sound like thunder followed. Then screams. Then silence. Ivan turned toward the wall. They opened the wrong door, he said. One level up, a Skarn prisoner bit through a guard's jugular. A moment later, 5 others surged through a breach in the gate, metal bent, not blasted. They weren't escaping. They were clearing a path. In the command deck, Iskro paced. "This isn't coincidence," he snapped. "It's coordinated." "But how?" "He hasn't left the cell." A monitor flickered. Prison sectors turned red one by one. His assistant's claws jittered over controls. "Communications are fragmenting. Internal paths corrupted. Feeds are being rerouted through old channels, human encryption layers." Iskro froze. "Old what?" "They're using myth code, sir. Folk cipher. Primitive but recursive. Impossible to trace in real time." The commander stared at the feed of Ivan's cell. He wasn't sitting anymore. He was moving. A heavy crash echoed outside Theta Black. The wall cracked. Not the door, the wall. From the inside. Ivan stood inches away, breath steaming. Behind him, prisoners gathered like shadows pulled by gravity. Enro clutched his chest. "There's no way out." Ivan turned. "There is now." He drove a jagged piece of torn metal from the hybrid fight into the fracture line. Ice split like lightning. The wall gave first, then the seal behind it burst from built-up pressure. The corridor beyond was flooded with dark. Ivan stepped into it. Words spread like fire down a dry forest. "He's out." Inmates across 6 levels revolted. Cells overrode. Codes long erased were spoken like incantations. Some guards fled. Others fought and fell. A few tried to reason, none succeeded. At the heart of it all was a man moving like wind in a tunnel. Silent. Intent. A group of prisoners blocked Ivan's path at level Delta 9. Veterans, beasts, killers. "Why you?" one growled. "Why do we follow you?" Ivan walked past, pausing only once. "Because you already are." No one stopped him after that. Above them, Iskro scrambled. "Cut off power to Theta Black. Seal it behind blast doors." "It's spreading past Theta Black," the assistant said. "He's 2 levels from the command deck." "That's impossible." "Sir?" The assistant hesitated. "He's not avoiding cameras anymore. He's walking straight toward you." Ivan ascended through maintenance shafts, legacy tunnels, and collapsed walls. He didn't run. He moved with rhythm. With purpose. On level Gamma 3, 2 guards cornered him with plasma spears. He caught the first mid-lunge, turned the weapon back through its owner's abdomen. The second hesitated, trembling. Ivan looked him in the eyes. "You don't have to die." The guard dropped the weapon. Ivan kept moving. Back in the control chamber, Iskro activated the final protocol, Omega Seal. An automated message echoed through the facility. "Initiating full lockdown. Bioscorch in 5 minutes." The maw prepared to burn itself clean. The assistant turned, panicked. "Sir, there are still hundreds of prisoners, guards, non-combatants." Iskro didn't care. "If we lose control, we lose deterrence. Let them all burn." He turned toward the elevator. But it didn't open. It had already arrived. And inside stood Ivan. The guards opened fire. Ivan rolled forward, using one of the dead to shield himself. In seconds, 3 fell. Iskro grabbed a blade, slicing downward. Ivan caught the wrist, broke it sideways, and rammed his forehead into the commander's mandibles. Iskro staggered. "Why?" he spat, clutching his shattered jaw. "You're already dead." Ivan took the blade, reversed it, and pointed it downward. "You thought we were extinct," he said. "But extinction is what we leave for others." He drove the blade through Iskro's chest. The command seal blinked red. Ivan reached over and terminated the Omega burn. Silence fell across the maw. He turned to the assistant. "Unlock the gates." The trembling alien nodded, typed rapidly. One by one, cells opened across the facility. Enro stood among the freed. "He did it," someone whispered. "The ghost walks again." "No," Enro said. "He never stopped." Ivan walked out the main gate as the frost storm howled beyond the cliffs. Hundreds followed, scattered species, wounded and hardened. Not soldiers. Survivors. Myths reborn. In orbit, a dormant satellite sparked to life. A signal pulsed through old Earth channels. A message. Baba Yaga walks. And far across the stars, humanity listened. And remembered. The wind outside Varkalak's maw cut through armor and skin alike. Ivan stood at the rim of the broken gates, frost curling in his beard, blood and ice crusted on his knuckles. Behind him stretched a silent procession of prisoners, now exiles, now witnesses. He looked down the ridge. No one pursued. They wouldn't. Not now. Not after what they saw. From the control tower, smoke poured in slow spirals. Iskrel's body lay crumpled beside the main console, limbs twisted at unnatural angles, command codes burned into the screen above him. Lockdown disabled. Transmit open. The galaxy was no longer watching a show. It was listening to a warning. Where now? Enril asked, breath hitching from the cold. Ivan turned. His eyes were unreadable. There's a relay station 2 clicks east. Buried under the ice. Used to call in reinforcements. Used to? Ivan nodded. I rewired it before I escaped. But we didn't escape yet, Enril said. Ivan's stare sharpened. We're not escaping. We're sending a message. The march across the ridge was brutal. Prisoners wrapped themselves in salvaged armor and heat nets. Some died from wounds. Others walked anyway, limping but focused. They'd followed Ivan this far not because he promised survival, but because he never once promised it. He promised clarity. When the relay station emerged, half-submerged, silent, clawed open by shifting glaciers, it looked dead. But Ivan walked straight in, brushing snow from a side panel. It was designed by humans. Built in the old style. They buried it thinking we'd forget. He opened a panel with a broken bone tool. Lights blinked to life. Everything forgotten is waiting to be remembered. Inside, the station was hollow and freezing. Old tech. Vacuum-sealed controls. No voice AI, no translation protocols. Just cold steel and intent. Enril stood by the transmitter console, staring at the blinking prompt. What do we say? Ivan stepped forward. We don't say. We show. He pulled a data drive from inside his belt, a shard of crystal no larger than a tooth. Inserted it into the core slot. On screen, the feed from the arena played. Not the violence. The moment after. The stillness when Ivan had pointed. Then the walk. The silence. The message. Is that enough? Enril asked. Ivan looked at him. Do you believe it? Enril paused. Then nodded. Then it's enough. He pressed send. The signal crossed systems in under a minute, carried through dormant human networks and abandoned calm buoys no one had touched in decades. It struck a resistance cell on an asteroid in the Kurgan expanse. A freighter drifting in the scar rims. A pirate broadcast on Solara Prime. A beacon long quiet lit up on Earth's ruined surface. And in each place, one word accompanied the image. He walks. Back inside the station, someone dropped to their knees. A Zarn woman, once a war criminal, now just another frostbitten figure in the snow. You did it, she said. Ivan shook his head. No. He pointed back toward the dark horizon, where the maw's shattered towers smoldered in the distance. I reminded them. Of what? Ivan met her eyes. That we are not prey. The relay station trembled, the ice around it settling from their presence. Enril leaned against the frame, shivering. They'll come for us, won't they? Yes, Ivan said. They have to. Then what? Ivan walked to the open door, looked into the storm. Then we show them what it means to chase an apex predator. The former prisoners began scavenging, organizing. Some planned routes. Others prepared defenses. It wasn't a colony. It wasn't a base. It was a signal fire. A war drum. And Ivan stood at the center, unmoving. From orbit, satellites picked up strange heat signatures from the region. Ships sent to investigate turned around halfway, systems failed, coordinates scrambled. And rumors spread. The maw had fallen. But more terrifying than that. It was now empty. 2 weeks later, on a border planet, a Oscaran general received a strange package. Inside, a blade. Blackened. Still wet with frost. Wrapped in a flag from Varkalak's maw. And a note, written in Old Terran Cyrillic. You were predators. But we were forged to hunt what hunts us. In deep space taverns, smugglers whispered of a man who walks without leaving tracks. In abandoned strongholds, children of Earth began painting runes they didn't understand on walls. And in the shadows of dying stars, scattered rebel cells turned toward one name with reverence. Baba Yaga. Not a myth. Not a ghost. A warning. And a promise.